Ang ibig bang sabihin yan, doon na tayo maglalagay sa pinaka-safe? Ibig sabihin ba niyan, doon na tayo maglalagay sa pinaka-affordable, yung 50 pesos lang? Ang ibig sabihin din ba niyan, o dahil malaki ang kita ng Global Consumer Trends Feeder Fund, doon na lang natin ilagay lahat? Ibig ako maglalagay dyan sa expectation na 3 to 5%, meron naman pala ditong kumikita nga ng 80 to 90%. Hello mga ka-RFF, this is again Rex Mendoza from Rampver Financials. Kamusta po kayo? I hope you and all of your loved ones are well, healthy, and having fun at home. Again, it's a great opportunity to learn something. It's a great opportunity to grow. And yes, as promised, I will be coming up with a topic that many of you are waiting for. I know. We are all excited. We are all in GInvest by GCash. And our access to this very simple and convenient platform that affords us the opportunity to invest as low as 50 pesos, as low as 1,000 pesos is really quite a blessing. Pero sabi ko nga dun sa video ko, hindi naman importanteng may access lang tayong ganyan at makapag-umpisa lang tayo. Kailangan programmed, consistent, and focused on the important things like achieving life goals. So ang totoo po, hindi basta-basta. Hindi porke nakapaglagay tayo, nakapag-invest tayo, okay na. I guess it's very important that we look at all the particular parameters, concepts, and principles to make sure that the platform and all of the products there can help us in our journey. Which leads me to the concept of asset allocation. Kasi po maraming nagsasabi, asset allocation, parang ang bigat ng mga salita niyan. Rex, baka mamaya sobrang complicated for me, wag na lang. Alam nyo, ito yung mga bagay na kaming nasa financial services industry ay dapat makatulong sa inyo. Dapat instead of discombobulating or confusing many of you, we should be focused on the things that can distill these concepts and principles, make them simple, make them very understandable so that easily you get to follow and implement them in your own plans and programs. So ano ba talaga itong tinatawag nating asset allocation strategy? Kasi alam nyo, all throughout our track towards the achievement of goals sa ating pag-i-invest, sa ating pag-iipon para makarating tayo sa gusto nating patunguhan, whether it's going to be a comfortable retirement, the home for our families, education for our children, or maybe funds for a new business. Lahat po yan kailangan magkatotoo. So, to be able to get there, we have to put ourselves in positions of growth. Hindi po pwedeng magtabi lang tayo ng pera kasi usapan nga natin, the very basic of it, you will lose value because of inflation. So, dapat mapalago mo siya. Mapalago mo siya para hindi lang talunin ng inflation, para magkatotoo yung lahat ng pinangarap mo. However, syempre, hindi naman ganun kadali magposisyon for growth. Kasi alam nyo, ang growth, ang kakambal niya ay risk. The more growth you put into your portfolio, the more risk you're taking on. So, importante, kailangan ma-manage at ma-balance natin yung dalawang yan. Kasi po, ang totoo, you're doing this to achieve your financial dreams. And your financial dreams are gonna stay your dreams no matter what's happening. Hindi po dahil nagkaroon ng pandemic, hindi na natin papaaralin ang mga anak natin. Hindi po dahil nagkaroon ng natural calamity, hindi na tayo magre-retire sa gusto nating edad at sa gusto nating panahon. So we still have to dictate our terms no matter what's happening out there. And the way to be able to do this is to manage our financial portfolio na kailangan lagyan natin ng mga tamang elemento para kung ano man ang mangyari, tama ang takbo ng ating portfolio at makakarating tayo sa fulfillment ng ating mga gusto pagdating ng takdang panahon. So, kailangan doon tayo sa pinaka-basic na yon. Kaya tayo nag-i-invest dahil gusto nating matupad ang ating mga financial goals and dreams. Hindi tayo nag-i-invest para kumita lang ng pera. Doon po yung kinatatakot ko, kaya sinabi ko, porke nakapag-invest ba tayo ng 1,000 o 50 pesos, okay na. Gusto mo lang kumita ng pera. Hindi ganun. Kailangan ma-match pa rin natin siya sa ating life goals, ma-match pa rin natin ang ating ginagawa sa katuparan kung ano man ang ating pinapangarap. And in so doing, we will have to contend with strategies to be able to get us there. And asset allocation is one of the most important ones. Kasi hindi po ibig sabihin na nakapag-invest ka, okay na eh. Ang sabi ko nga kanina, di ba? May mga issues tayo. Para saan ba yung iniipon at ini-invest mo? What are the goals that you want to achieve? Pangalawa, ano ba yung risk appetite mo? Kasi hindi pwedeng gusto mo lang kumita eh. Baka itinatapon mo lahat ng risk outside the window, delikado ka. And lastly and most importantly, ano ba ang time horizon mo? Gaano katagal ba ang meron ka? Kasi lahat ng balancing act between growth and risk nakabase sa mga bagay na yan. So, asset allocation is an investment strategy that invests in different asset classes. You don't put your eggs in one basket. It has to be in different asset classes and the blend of which will make you achieve goals. So, ano itong mga asset class na ito at ano itong mga investments na ito? It can be time deposits, stocks, bonds, managed funds, mutual funds and UITFs, real estate, insurance, and even cash. To build a portfolio that balances risk and rewards based on an investor's risk tolerance, time horizon, goals, and objectives. Yan po yung definition na yan. And we have to recognize that to make sure that we are going to be on the right path. Kasi tingnan nyo po himayin natin ng magaling yung usapan ng risk na yan. The reason why risk is very important is because it is to match you. Or else, you will have a lot of discomfort in making investments. Isipin nyo po ito, nag-invest kayo. Aggressive yung investment. Hindi naman kayo aggressive. So ano mangyayari? Araw-araw kinakabahan kayo, araw-araw may discomfort kayo, mai-stress kayo, and you will get yourself with bouts of anxiety, I'm losing money, all that stuff. Yan ba ang gusto natin? Di ba? Part of life is really to enjoy the process. So dapat tama at angkop. Now, may flip side yan. Yung iba naman, sobrang safe. Ayaw mag-take ng risk. Talagang yung share to at guaranteed lang. So ano mangyayari? Yung takbo ng kanilang investment sobrang bagal, dadating ang panahon, hindi matutupad yung kanilang mga pangarap at napakasakit dahil nagtipid sila, nagtiyaga sila, tapos yung pala, hindi rin pala maganda ang mangyayari. So it's going to be a balancing act, as I've said. So that's the reason why ito, uunahin natin risk appetite. Between the risk appetite of conservative to very aggressive, you will have grades like high risk, high reward. Anong katapat ng high risk, high reward? Siyempre, a very aggressive portfolio. Pero yung mga hindi masyadong aggressive, ang kailangan portfolio nila is what? Low risk, low reward. Para naman magkaroon sila ng comfort in the journey. Hindi sila masyadong jolted. So kung makikita nyo, may matching yan. Yung risk appetite, may minamatch na focus on investment portfolio creation. Now, ang usapan, Rex, pag ako ba conservative, hindi na ako pwedeng maglagay sa aggressive. Pwede pa din, kaya nga natin pinag-uusapan ng allocation. Ibig sabihin, pag maglagay ka man, kailangan babalansihin mo para kung ano man ang mangyari, may comfort ka na may huhugutin ka kasi natatakot ka. Pagsak ang market, bigla ka na kailangan ng pera. Teka lang, kung may investment funds ako, teka lang, kung meron akong conservative instruments na hindi ako matatalo if I get to withdraw them. Di ba ibig sabihin, kampante ako, mangyari na ang mangyayari, hindi ako nalalagay sa peligro. Hindi yung biglang may nangyari, mapipilitan ako mag-divest sa aking stocks, kung mababa ang stock market kagaya ngayon. Di ibig sabihin, lululunin mo ang lugi mo. So kailangan po, doon natin babawiin yan sa tinatawag na asset allocation. And without tayo, may risk-return frontier. Ano ibig sabihin yan? Habang umaakyat ang risk na tinetake natin, umaakyat din ang ating reward. Pero kung makikita nyo, may curve yan. Ibig sabihin, hindi linear. Hindi ang ibig sabihin yan ay pag kumukuha ka ng ganong kataas na risk ay karampatang katapat nun ay ganon din kataas na return. No, there is a risk-return curve which tells you that there is a declining level of return, a marginal return for a specific increase in the level of risk. So hindi pwedeng gusto mo lang kumita ng mas malaki, doon ka sa pinaka-aggressive. Hindi pwede kasi parang kinuha mo lahat yung risk, hindi naman ganun ka-appropriate. So ibig sabihin, kailangan balansehin mo pa rin para kasali ka sa iba't ibang mga instrumentong ito. Kaya nababagay lahat na yan sa edad. Kasi if you're going to be looking at it, the other factor that risks operate on would be time. Habang tayo ay may oras at meron tayong pagkakataong mag-intay, we can take more risks. Kasi hindi tayo ipit eh. Ibig sabihin, we will have a longer runway at ang advantage ng bagay na ito ay pag mas mahaba ang runway mo, hindi ka mapupuwersa to take such a low level of risk because you have time to correct the probable mistakes you can do. So, ano nangyayaring matching dito? Pag ikaw daw, short na ang time horizon, you have to be able to stay defensive and conservative. And if you have a long-term time horizon, let's say more than 10 years, then you can be very aggressive because there are so many things that can happen to a market. But if you have 10 years, what happens there? You can wait for a better time. Pero pag maikli na lang ang horizon mo, kailangan mag-ingat ka na. Dahil baka may mangyari pa doon sa amount of time na yon, and that can put you in jeopardy. So if we're going to be putting this all together, pwede nating i-match yan sa ating age bracket. So kung makikita nyo, yung mga 20s at 30s dyan, pwedeng to put themselves in a growth position. Konti lang ang defensive. Yung defensive position natin, para dun sa mga rough patches that can happen in the market. Kahit papano may defensive kayo. Pero, karamihan ng pera nyo, hindi nyo naman kakailanganin ng matagal, so they can be in growth positions. And then, we move on to 30s and 40s, 60s and 70s. Dapat pababa ng pababa yung risk position. Dapat mas defensive rather than growth-focused ang inyong investment. And obviously, pag retirado na kayo at 80 na kayo, you don't want to take too much of risk unless you can afford it. Because anything wrong can happen. You don't have the time to correct anything. Kasi when you have a long span of time, you can actually wait for corrections to happen, for improvements in the markets to happen. Can you just imagine if you were about to retire in 2020 and this happened? How could you have corrected things? Ibig sabihin, magdadivest tayo at the wrong time, and when we always do that, we can be exposed to losses. And this actually proves such a major point because there are a lot of investors who focused on picking winners, not knowing that actually, over time, all the researches show ang nagpupush ng long-term investment portfolio performance is asset allocation. It is not actually market timing or security selection. Dito po sa research na to, 91%. Ang pinakamababa ko pong nakita, 65%. All within asset allocation. What does that mean? If we put our focus on creating an allocation that works for us, that becomes our strategy, and we go through time, no matter what's happening to the market, to put the right amount, the right proportion in assets that we have pre-selected, and we know how they're going to perform for the future. They put us in a level of comfort so that when the market goes volatile and all that, our strategy will perform anyway for the long term. And if they all match our risk appetite, our time horizon, and our goals, no matter what happens, it's asset allocation that takes us there. It will not be a matter of if, it will be a matter of when in terms of fulfilling our financial dreams. And importante po na malaman natin that asset allocation is deliberate. Planado po yan. Programa po yan. Kasi marami tayong mapaglalagyan ng pera eh. Hindi po pwedeng lagay tayo ng lagay, invest tayo ng invest kung saan man natin gusto, at dadating ang panahon, titingnan natin, ito na pala ang portfolio ko. Will it fulfill my financial dreams? Hindi po ganun eh. Kailangan deliberate eh. We have to accumulate with a firm guidance over time na pag meron akong investable funds, like let's say meron akong 1,000 ngayon, saan ko dapat ilagay ngayon? Meron akong 10,000, saan ko dapat ilagay? Kailangan ko bang pira-pirasuhin? Will I have to put a certain proportion here, a certain allocation there? Lahat po ito nakaprograma. So, ang end in mind, meron kang pinupuntiryang portfolio that matches your particular needs. And because of that, we cannot help but say it's going to be based on age. It's going to be based on age. So malalaman nyo po na siguro yung equity-laced managed funds or stocks, siguro syempre sila yung pinaka-growth focus sa lahat ng hawak natin sa ating investments. So sila dapat, yung pagbata-bata tayo, malaki sila. Pero pag nagkakaedad tayo, sila yung lumiliit. Ito namang mga conservative, yung mga tinatawag nating fixed income na sigurado, mostly guaranteed, pero mababa ang interest. Ano po ang ibig sabihin? Siyempre, habang tayo'y bata, very limited ang exposure natin sa kanila dahil hindi naman natin sila masyadong kailangan unless an emergency happens eh. Pero habang tumatanda tayo, kailangan syertong-syerto ang ating performance. And that's the reason why even if they're low in terms of growth, they're gonna be fine because we don't have the time for the volatility. We don't have that time for the gyrations in terms of value. Kailangan sa atin medyo fixed na kasi by that time, we're not going to be so focused in growing a portfolio and making more money. We're now going to be spending it, and that's the reason why the longer it takes, the more secure it is, the better it is for us. At kung sumobra man yan, syempre, ibibigay na natin yan sa ating mga mahal sa buhay. Now, maraming magtatanong, sobrang mabigat pala, Rex, ang asset allocation. So, how do we now implement that within GInvest by GCash? Kasi within GInvest by GCash lang, pwede na tayo mag-asset allocation. I'm gonna tell you, and this is very important to understand at this time, hindi ko po sinasabi na yung kompletong asset allocation nyo within GInvest okay na. All I'm saying is, we have to implement the idea and the concept of asset allocation in any investment portfolio that we have. Which means, within GInvest by GCash, kailangan may mindset din tayong mag-allocate ng ating assets. Alam naman natin that we have 5 products in GInvest. Ang ibig bang sabihin yan, doon na tayo maglalagay sa pinaka-safe? Ibig sabihin ba niyan, doon na tayo maglalagay sa pinaka-affordable, yung 50 pesos lang? Ang ibig sabihin din ba niyan, o dahil malaki ang kita ng Global Consumer Trends Feeder Fund, doon na lang natin ilagay lahat? Ba't ako maglalagay dyan sa expectation na 3 to 5%? Meron naman pala ditong kumikita nga ng 80 to 90%. Kaya po, very important na gusto kong i-discuss itong asset allocation. Yan po ang mga bagay na kailangan nating mapag-isipan. Yan ang mga bagay na kailangan nating i-distill and i-manage para po alam natin that we are on the right track and we have the right perspectives in using the platform to our advantage. And because we have 5 products in GInvest, dito nyo makikita na pwede tayong magkaroon ng asset allocation program. Makikita nyo, di ba? Fixed income, si money market fund, at si bond fund. Equity-laced na yung tatlong susunod na fund. Si Philippine Equity Smart Index Fund and si Global Technology Feeder Fund and together with Global Consumer Trends Feeder Fund. So, yung pong huling tatlo, higher risk. Yung unang dalawa, lower risk. But on top of the financial instrument exposure, we can also have geographic exposure. Yung tatlong funds dito, yung money market, yung bond, at yung Philippine Equity Smart Index Funds, local yan. Etong dalawang sumusunod, yung Global Technology Feeder Fund at yung Global Consumer Trends Feeder Fund, pareho pong international at global yan. So, diyan pa lang dapat nakikita natin, there is a way to be able to match something here. Now, what I'm gonna tell you is a suggestion, especially for the beginners. I'm not saying this fits everyone. You still have to make your own calculation, your own assumptions of, again, very important, your goals, your risk appetite, and your time horizon. Ito pong sa akin, syempre, since hindi ko naman kayo pwedeng kausapin lahat, the best way to deal with it is to just come up with an example. But the truth is, each and every one of you will have a particular portfolio that matches them. And ang gagawin ko po dito, para rule of thumb lang, para alam nyo yung prinsipyo at alam nyo yung konsepto at magagawa natin. Di ba? As low as 1,000 a month, you can have 12,000 invested after a whole year. But does that mean you have to be in the highest yielding fund? No, because the highest yielding funds can be the highest risk funds as well. Does that also mean you just have to play it safe and put everything in the safest funds? Also no, because if you do that, you might not be able to fulfill your investment objectives. Again, ang sasabihin ko pa ho, syempre, karamihan naman sa inyo may investment sa iba. May investment sa ibang financial institutions. May stocks na, may mutual funds na in some other portfolio. Dapat i-blend natin ito. Which means, maybe for GInvest by GCash, nandun lang kayo sa global funds. Pwede yun. Ang assumption ko doon, meron pa kayong nasa iba. Pero kung wala kayong nasa iba at talagang basic beginner kayo, dapat naka-portfolio in such a way that matches you. So dito ang ginawa ko, pa 1,000, pero yung 1,000 ilalagay ko sa iba't ibang mga funds. Now, I am not even gonna say which you want to start with. But all I'm saying is at the end of a year, this might be what you're going to be ending up with. So anong nangyari dito? Nilagay ko dito, tig to 2,000, si Peso Money Market Fund, si Total Return Peso Bond Fund, yung dalawang global funds, technology and consumer trends. Pero ang kakaiba, yung 4,000 nilagay ko kay Philippine Equity Smart Index Fund. Bakit ko ginawa yon? Kasi alam nyo, in my mindset, a beginner should have a good mix of fixed income and growth. So, 1/3 po nung total portfolio na yon, which is 4,000 out of 12,000, will be in fixed income. 8,000 out of 12,000 will be in equities kasi growth focus siya. Growth focus siya. We want to be able to build a portfolio within GInvest that will grow for the future. So here, with this portfolio suggestion, I'm really trying to match the average profile of the GCash user. Bata at mahaba pa ang kanilang investment horizon. So pwedeng mag-focus on growth. However, I also know that most of you are not seasoned investors, which means maganda din na 60% nasa local investments muna para mas madaling maintindihan. And 1/3 will be in global investments para naman hindi too aggressive. Habang natututo tayo, di ba? Tama lang ang ating risk weighting sa ating portfolio. This, I'll have to say again, you can come up with your own weighting, you can come up with your own portfolioing. Ang importante lang po, before kayo mag-umpisa, deliberate tayo. Dapat may hahantungan. Nag-uumpisa tayo ng 1,000 a month, saan makakarating yun? Kung 2,000 a month, dapat by the end of the year, may 24,000 tayo. Ano ang itsura ng 24,000 natin at the end of 12 months? Saan nakalagay? So, alam mo na yung end in mind. Hindi yung basta lagay ka lang ng lagay at pagdating sa dulo, saka ka lang sisilip kung ano nang nangyari. Dapat meron tayong puntirya, meron tayong hantungan that we are managing as the months go by. And in coming up with this portfolio at kung gusto nyo mang baguhin ang kahit ano dyan, kailangan meron tayong critical facts to ascertain. Which would mean, going back to the basics. Ano ba yung goals mo? Ano yung risk appetite mo uli? Ano pa ang iba't ibang investments mo na maaaring nasa iba't ibang instrumento at nasa iba't ibang platform? And lastly, ang ating time horizon. Ganong katagal ba natin gagawin ito? So, when we go back to all of this, pwede nating timplahin so that it suits us. Yung sinabi ni Rex, suggestion lang yan. Ikaw pa rin ang gagawa ng sarili mong portfolio. Pero ang pinaka-importante sa lahat, hindi aksidente, hindi ba? Pinaplano mo kung ano dapat ang magiging itsura habang iniipon at pinalalago mo pa lang. So all told, real wealth management is comprehensive. Hindi po tsambahan ito. Hindi po ito ipon, invest lang, tapos tingnan na lang natin kung ano mangyayari. You will have to look at all that is there. Your life insurance, your fixed income investments, which surely need to match your emergency funds, your managed funds, UITFs and mutual funds, your equity investments, direct stocks. Now, if you have real estate, if you have businesses, you have other investments like collectibles, all of those will have to be in a particular portfolio where you will be managing a balancing act between growth and risk. You will have to look at tax treatment. Siyempre po, pinaka-importante, hindi rin ganun kasama yung tinatawag na leakages because at the end of the day, we don't want to be working for someone else. We want to be working for ourselves and our loved ones. Then, it also is directed at our access and liquidity. If anything happens, we should be able to stand and weather any storm. And lastly, the kind of distribution that we're going to be having when the time comes. So it's all going to be managed in terms of an optimized personal net worth and estate value. So to recap, an investment platform like GInvest by GCash puts a lot of power on our fingertips, gives us the access to top-performing investment instruments, and makes it so convenient that we can do it anytime we want and anytime we can afford to. But in order to optimize all this, it will be up to us to manage ourselves. It is not the platform nor the investment instruments that you manage. Always remember that. What you're managing is yourself. You have to have a goal-based asset allocation because at the end of the day, that's what we want to accomplish. We have to be able to do this with enough discipline. Hindi pwedeng maglagay lang kung kailan natin gustong maglagay. Kung maaari lang nakaprograma, kung maaari lang very, very consistent. And the important thing is this, that we have to learn, monitor, and refine our investment approach and strategy. From time to time, whether quarterly yan or annually yan, tingnan natin, are we matched with what we have planned thus far? Why aren't we? If that's your reality, anong kailangan natin gawin to get back on track? Or if we're even doing better than what we have planned, bakit ganon? Anong nangyari? Anong pwedeng ulitin? Baka mapaaga ang fulfillment ng ating financial dreams. Again, this is Rex Mendoza and I hope this discussion on asset allocation is quite an eye-opener and a learning experience for many of you. I hope you give this video a like and please do subscribe if you're not part of the family yet. Also, tap the bell button so that we get to notify you in our forthcoming powerful videos. And again, till that time, I wish you all the very best and blessings always.